A Passion for Mushrooms by Chrononautical. Chapter 13. A Lesson in Jewels. Still, I must ask. Bilbo rather thought Dis didn't ask, actually, especially since the sparkle in her blue eyes told him quite clearly that she was laughing at him again. They might have simply enjoyed a nice afternoon tea conversing about the weather. Instead, she opened with, "If you did spend your days like an elven maiden, composing poetry about the eyes of a stubborn, notoriously ugly fool, why would you refuse 7 gifts from him?" With a deep breath, Bilbo calmed himself, closing his eyes against the throbbing in his head. It was a very dwarvish question. Moreover, it was a question he knew bothered Thorin and the others, though none of them had ever asked for an explanation for those first refusals. In a way, he welcomed the blunt inquiry, though he was certainly not going to admit to any poetic tendencies regarding Thorin's eyes. "I did not refuse 7 gifts from Thorin," Bilbo said firmly. "I refused 6 offers of a reward for my services, and I only did that because I rather misunderstood the intent behind the gesture." "That much I know. Common gossip would tell that you thought the reward a gift, and refused to accept such from one who nearly murdered you in his madness." Shocked, Bilbo could say nothing at all. "That is absurd. None of that was his fault. It was the dragon's curse, and he overthrew the madness with pure will. Who says such things?" Diz's smile was small and bitter. "When a king is publicly refused so many times by one whose loyalty he values, many people say many things." "I'm sorry." Bilbo felt awful. No one had explained it to him that way. Of course, they probably thought him bright enough to draw a simple conclusion. "I didn't think of it so at the time, but he would keep making it public. I should have been much happier to refuse him privately." This laughed sharply, but it did not have the same joy of their earlier shared amusement. "Tell me why." Bilbo shrugged uncomfortably. "I thought he meant to offer me a going-away present. Something for the road. Don't let the gates hit my bum on the way out. And I did not want to leave." "I see." Reading her expression was suddenly very difficult. It wasn't the stone mask that Thorin so often wore as a king, but Bilbo didn't know her well enough to understand what he was saying. She looked like someone tasting pickled ginger for the first time, trying to decide if they liked it or not. "I asked Balin to make him stop, but Balin just kept telling me it wasn't a gift, so I should take what was being offered. And I couldn't talk to Thorin because he was so upset with me. Only, now I think on it, that was probably just as much about me embarrassing him publicly as it was about the Arkenstone and everything." Bilbo stopped babbling. He wasn't sure how the conversation had taken such a bad turn, and he certainly didn't know how to get it back to the point where they were laughing together. His head hurt. "Do you know, Mr. Baggins, I have just realized something important that I believe has entirely escaped notice of the great minds of Erebor." "That I'm a bit of an idiot?" Bilbo asked morosely. This laughed happily. "That you are not a dwarf." "I do believe they know that. Your brother, for one, called me halfling for about half our journey, though I am not half of anything." "So then they told you plainly, knowing our ways are not your ways, that dwarves do not as a rule give gifts." "What?" "Oh, there are exceptions, of course. Courting gifts, which are given to initiate a romance. Fealty gifts, which a lord or landowner may give to those who serve well. Apprentices receive gifts from their masters. Children receive gifts from their parents and other family members. I cannot tell you how Thorin spoiled Keely as a child. When we had less than nothing, still Thorin would forego his own food or sleep to craft baubles for my youngest." Bilbo knew that he should take advantage of the lesson in dwarvish culture. At the very least, it explained why his friends were always asking for pocket change whenever they gave him a present. Even after so long living among them and finally being permitted to learn Khuzdul, there were many secrets that were simply not spoken of. But his head hurt, so he indulged himself with a question he truly wanted an answer to. "What sort of things did he make?" "Oh, toys for the most part. Wooden swords, clockwork, birds, dolls, soldiers, small animals, and such like. Thorin wanted so desperately for both of my sons to have a happy childhood, though he could not give that as easily as a little red wagon with real wheels." As his heart broke a bit, Bilbo looked out the window, straining to see Erebor behind the towers of Dale. "Well, he has given them a home now, and they shall have happy lives." "Yes, they will," Dis said. "He has given a home to all of his people, and that is appropriate. A king may give a gift.
So when I was declining Thorin's rewards, it was like saying in public that he wasn't my king.
This smiled. Very good.
Why wouldn't Balin have simply told me that?
I expect, Dis said carefully, that he thought you might be under the impression that it was another type of gift.
What do you mean?
Traditionally, a dwarf will give a gift to begin a courtship.
Forcing a laugh, Bilbo said, I cannot see how that might apply to the chest of jewels Thorin was trying to give me.
No, that would be ridiculous, but he might have thought you received an incomplete explanation of the customs. Perhaps someone mentioned it when speaking around the campfire, as adventurers do, or maybe later, when you reached the treasure rooms of Erebor.
Clearly Dis was hinting at something, but Bilbo had no idea what it might be. Not that I recall. Gloin mentioned courting his wife on occasion, but it was only the usual, that she was a famous beauty, that he was lucky she chose him, that he loved her far more than gold, the type of thing any hobbit might say, though perhaps we'd make comparison to chocolates or tea cakes.
Dis nodded. I thought as much. You know nothing at all.
Hey, I'll have you know I'm generally considered to be quite clever enough around these parts. I won a riddle contest for my life underneath the Misty Mountains. I broke the company out of Thranduil's inescapable dungeon. I
know nothing of Dwarven courtship.
Well, Bilbo said uncomfortably, I suppose I can't say I've courted or been courted by anyone, no.
Have you heard that dwarves only love once?
Yes, I have. Both told me when we were out dancing. In point of fact, Bilbo had asked, and for reasons he would not speak of in the presence of a lady he had only just met. He'd been a bit too shy to speak of it with Bolford directly either. At the time, he'd only mentioned obliquely about the sort of thing that might go on between two adults in the know after a birthday party or a high-spirited night at the pub. He would not like to lead anyone on or offer insult if customs were different in Erebor. Bolford had nodded in understanding, but informed him that such things never happened among dwarves, not because it was shocking or improper, but because it was a risk. Dwarves only loved once. Go about courting in the wrong way, and you could salt the only land that would ever be yours to garden.
Then you know that our love is a gift from Mahal. The one we love is not. They are their own person, and there is no guarantee that just because the dwarf has a love, they are loved in return. The one who is loved may love another. The one who is loved may never love. It is a great burden to be someone's best chance for happiness. A dwarf with any sense of nobility or honor would never simply speak words of love.
So instead, you give gifts? That seems terribly circuitous to me. Wouldn't the person receiving a courting gift know anyway?
Dis shook her head. There are reasons to court other than love. Dwaro might marry for alliance, security, progeny, or any number of other reasons. I might have done so myself, even if my heart had not been touched. Thorin was too shamed by defeat and too driven by the crown to continue our line. I wanted children. Yet I was lucky enough to have love as well for a time.
I'm sorry for your loss.
It was long ago. For a little while there was silence, the wind blowing the soft noises of the streets of Dale up as a gentle counterpoint to their lapsed conversation. Eventually Dis spoke again. Whether a dwarf loves their one, or simply wishes to court a particular person, they must begin with a gift. They present the object of their courtship with a token of great value, generally crafted by their own hand, and bid them accept it as a gift. If the one being courted isn't interested, they simply give it back. The giver will not approach them again for a year and a day. One who does wish to be courted would wear the token publicly, indicating that they welcome, or at least will permit, being spoken to of love.
So the token is something that is worn?
Smiling, Dis removed a ring from the first finger of her right hand. It ought to be. The best tokens are personal, unique to the one who crafts it and the one who it is crafted for. It was the courting gift my father gave to my mother when he was crown prince of Erebor. The ring was a heavy golden thing shaped like two ravens meeting in flight, their swooping wings forming the back of the band, and their beaks holding a great blue sapphire encircled by 7 smaller diamonds. The 7 stars are a symbol of the house of Durin, which he was offering her. The ravens were for Erebor, and the sapphire because her eyes were blue. He did not know her well when they began to court, though he loved her. I like his wedding gift to her much better, for that was a drafting desk of gold with pens and brushes of all shapes and sizes. Making pictures was her passion, as scribing was her craft, and I came to love her drawings as he did her.
That's charming, Bilbo agreed, handing the ring back to her.
My Vili, on the other hand, Dis said, removing another ring from her left hand. He knew me well before offering me a courting gift.
The ring was light. Bilbo might have thought it a particularly bright sort of silver if he wasn't so familiar with mithril. Crafted of two thin bands, the silver steel seemed to wind together around a pale blue stone. One band was inscribed with the runes for Dis, and were shaped like a dwarven war axe upon closer inspection. The other band had the name Vili, and was shaped like a stretched-out fiddle. Inside the ring, the two bands were inscribed with what looked like coastal poetry. Some sort of opal makes hot music?
Lightning opals inspire heartfelt songs, Dis corrected, smiling softly. The blue jewel you see there is such an opal. They are quite rare, and I do not doubt that Vili must have tightened his belt for a full year to afford one, though the mithril was likely a contribution from Thorin in the crafting. There was a bead he used to wear in his hair of about this weight that mysteriously vanished a few weeks before Vili approached me.
Thorin made this?
Yes, though he will never admit to it under sky or stone. It is a polite fiction that all dwarves craft their own courting gifts, unless an heirloom is given instead. Of course, if Vili had given me a ring of whittled wood, I would have worn it with a glad heart. But he wanted to give me something worthy of the house of Durin, knowing he was my one. Thorin helped him.
It's very beautiful.
The design is Vili's. He had a good eye for beauty, if not the skill to craft it from metal.
If you separate the bands, do the words change meaning?
You have a quick eye as well, Master Baggins. Yes, the lightning opals retain love, but if the fiddle stands alone, the music wants for inspiration. Vili's true gift was language. Once I put this ring on, he courted me with such music.
I imagine you miss him very much.
I do. Dwarves love once, and I will not love again. He would not wish me to weep, though. All he ever did was try to make me laugh. Now my sons do a good job of that in his stead, and I have friends enough for company.
Perhaps you would be willing to add another to that number? Bilbo tried for his most charming grin, and Dis returned the smile. I am very much in your debt for the cultural lesson.
Oh, Bilbo Baggins, if there is debt between us, none of it would ever be on your side. But yes, I should like to call you friend.
Leaning back against his pillows, the hobbit closed his eyes to rest his throbbing head. That is very kind of you, he said, feeling how true this was. Somehow he kept getting lucky when it came to royalty. If he took an injury on their behalf, they seemed to welcome being friends with a silly little hobbit. It was quite convenient, really. For all that his head ached, he would have things unfold in the exact same way, even if he might go back and live the meeting a second time.